All right, hello. So now I've got a much better at setting up these YouTube lives. Though I still need to figure out how to get it to where they can, so I can pre-make the link beforehand. Because right now I'm manually going in here to set these up. So it's gonna go and at the moment while I don't think anybody knows we're live. I'm gonna go ahead, send this link out to everybody. Let's see, to the Kylin official. And then same thing in the Crusaders. All right, fantastic. Right, I could say the same about you. I appreciate you being here. So in today's stream, what I'm thinking will make sense, I want to go over a couple of questions that have been coming up over, I guess, these last couple of days. Also wanted to go into more information about Substrate, as well as the opportunities available for developers coding on Substrate. And then finally, I'd like to be able to talk more about Pichu, the marketplace, and the opportunities that we see coming up, as well as why it is we're doubling down so much on being able to offer more opportunities to educate oneself in blockchain development and data oracles and various other types of data solutions, namely machine learning systems. Hello, Matt, Stuve, great to see you guys in here. So without any further ado, while you guys are hopping in, I'd greatly appreciate any questions that you might have, or just share a little information about where you're from or how your day is going. Would love to see what's going on with folks. Now, to start off with, I'm going to talk about I guess a little bit more information about Substrate development and development on Rust in general. See, it's something where most developers I've spoken with, they're aware of the Rust development language, but it's not typically at the top of people's lists. From what I've heard, and this is just feedback from the community at large, I've heard that Rust is seen as being more challenging compared to perhaps a Python or a Java, as well as because it's meant for more low-level code, that it's something where some people just don't find as exciting. They think, excuse me, they think it's a bit more like C++ or C sharp, where it's primarily used for legacy code. So I wanted to take a moment and just talk a little bit more about the underlying framework behind Polkadot and ultimately Kylin/Pichu as well, and to talk about this amazing opportunity that's happening within the Rust development space. So similarly to how, I guess that was maybe 5 years ago-ish, that there was this real big boom of Python because of the data science industry. And that's been amazing. There's been a ton of technological innovations that have come out from that in terms of scientific computing, as well as just data science in general, bringing data science applications to the masses through interesting technologies such as automated machine learning. Now, with Rust, where that really comes in is while a lot of software, I'd say the majority of software, especially when we're talking about fintech, it's mostly built on C++ and C sharp. And these systems, while they're extraordinarily robust as a result of the way that they're built on these low-level programming languages, they're also a bit tough to maintain. And it's the maintenance of this legacy code that makes it so expensive, while also there's a smaller supply of developers within this space in a language that, and this is just a feedback that I've received, it's just not innovating as fast. Then enter Rust. Rust is the solution to being able to kind of challenge that foundation that is there by C++ and C sharp. Rust is set up to be easier to use in C++ and C sharp, I myself am a junior developer. I've learned Python. I can do some basic front end web dev, and also I'm learning Rust. And as a beginner developer, I can say I like Rust a lot because it makes it to where you can take those, I guess, more technical things within code, such as memory allocation or parallel processing, and you're able to more easily embed it into whatever you're building. Though it's not just the ease of use that really makes Rust a exciting programming language. It's the fact that it's memory safe, and that when it comes down to the way that the system compiles, while yes, it can be quite a process wrestling with the compiler, the fact is, once the code passes, it's secure, it's safe. Rust makes it to where it is, in fact, difficult to be able to run code that isn't safe. And by nature, this is a significant difference over something such as Solidity, where it's a bit horrifying when diving into the code, but there's a lot of ways to develop a Solidity smart contract incorrectly in a way that it can either be easily front run by bots or an assortment of various different data privacy concerns that can happen. On the other hand, using a system like Rust, while yes, it can take a bit longer to code because the language is a bit more complex than Solidity or Python, it's something where in the long run, there's a lot less maintenance required on it because you're able to know and rest assured that the code is going to be able to run. On top of that, when we're talking about Substrate, which is a framework of Rust built by the team at Parity with Gavin Wood, they've built it to be modular, almost like a series of Legos being stacked on top of each other, where there are templates provided for most aspects of blockchain development. And because these are already pre-programmed, as a Substrate developer, it's more a matter of understanding your business use case or your application use case, understanding what parameters could be adjusted to produce the optimal solution. And then on top of that, knowing that because it's built on Polkadot or Kusama, same setup, you know that the security and the validator army is there behind the software, behind the blockchain network. That way your focus can be on the end application. So in our case, what we're building on Kylin is the data warehouse and data marketplace, where developers can build and connect whatever types of applications that they would like, either through the API endpoint, which will allow them to upload their data sets or connect their applications to the marketplace, or by being able to create Substrate native oracles and reporting systems and various other data solutions directly into Substrate Rust. So that way it's able to interoperate with the entire Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. So if you take something like an oracle that is, let's say, built on Substrate, let's say it's on Kusama, and if that's pulling data from other Kusama projects, it's going to have not only the fastest data access, it's also going to have the most accurate because it's coming directly from the source. On top of that, because of the memory safety of the programming language, it makes it to where a developer can run their code with much greater confidence, knowing that it's going to be able to stand the test of time more easily, allowing them to focus on better efficiency and optimization of the application. So I know this is super duper nerdy, and it's just something where I wanted to take some time to talk a little bit more about why people are excited about it. Not to mention, if you just Google the average developer salary of a experienced Rust dev, the numbers quickly exceed six figures after just a couple of years of experience. So it's one of those situations where there's a massive opportunity right now within the blockchain space that's open, I would say, to all developers, whether they come from a background of massive experience or if they're very, very passionate and are excited to learn. Right now is an opportunity where, as we're entering the end of the year and preparing for the next year, if you're somebody who's considered entering the blockchain space, or perhaps is looking for an adventure to be able to either work on part-time or maybe even transition into full-time, it's something where there are an abundance of opportunities available, even within the Kylin ecosystem and community alone, for developers, especially those who are excited to learn about substrate rust and to be one of the elite few who are becoming and gaining expertise in this exciting new framework. All right, so I'm going to take a quick pause and take a look at the chat, see how things are going, and then we'll go over some Q&A. South Africa, very cool. Thank you. It's oh wow, yeah, it's summertime over there. Interesting. Yeah, Animal Lover, I am blown away at the moment of the current status, though. The entire market is taking a beating right now. It's I like to consider it a holiday discount. Yeah, so the crowd loan is that's coming up. The easiest way to be a part of it is by interacting through either the Polkadot JS wallet or through Polka Wallet. There was something where we'll be putting together some material. I've actually got a teammate who's organizing some documents for us right now. So that way, within the next, I would say, day or two, I'll have a breakdown of how to participate in a crowd loan. One day closer. Yeah, and then Animal Lover, this isn't actually the lowest it's been. I'm pretty sure we chopped 50% less than where it is right now. I'm looking at the market and I'm seeing a sea of red. I mean, there's not many tokens, period, that are not in double-digit losses. It's something where this is a valuable point to consider for anybody who is in the crypto market. There's different sizes of projects. When you're in that, let's call it sub $250 million level, that's a micro cap or small cap, depending who you're talking to. These are the most volatile projects because they haven't yet hit that point where they've got a floor or foundation to establish their price discovery. Now, once a project starts getting closer to the $1 billion market cap level, that's where you start seeing a bit more stability. Yet even there, you're still looking at 30 to 50% swings on the week in blockchain. These things do happen. And of course, at the blue chip level and the top tier level, when you start talking about the decabillion, or I guess that is 11 figures. Yeah. Anyways, the multiple tens of billions dollars market cap level, there is more stability, and some could say the risk is lower. Yet it's something where when we're talking about a project like Kylin, staring at the charts every single day and seeing what they do, it's very difficult to try to judge that and make an accurate prediction. And this is coming as someone who's been spending the better part of the last year doing nothing but studying machine learning. It's something where the challenge in making predictions on small cap projects is there just isn't historical data yet. So it's something where instead, of course, we're not financial advisors, and in no way can we offer financial advice. What we can say is, as technologists, to be looking at the fundamentals of what is the project doing. And this isn't just for Kylin, it's for any type of token a person is looking at. It's so important to understand what is the vision, where is the project going, how do they intend to get there, and what type of community is surrounding it to help ensure that that vision happens. So I say that because I know a lot of folks, and I get it, we have bags as well, and it can get emotional whenever the markets move up and they move down. At the same time, though, that's what crypto markets do, and that's a large part of why there's so much opportunity in the space. If the prices did not swing so much up and down, it wouldn't give the people who took the time, who make the investment to educate themselves about their favorite projects, how they work, to decide where they have the highest conviction, to be able to buy in at a level that the market is likely mispricing. And if I can offer some dubious speculation, I personally do believe that we are monstrously mispriced right now. And, it's something that we are taking actions to help correct that in the best ways that we can. It's something, of course, we don't control the price in some unilateral way. Yet by being able to build out our use case and our utility, by getting closer to launching the data marketplace, by arming more and more people with the ability and the knowledge of knowing how to create blockchain data solutions to deploy on top of our marketplace, We know that the closer that we get to cranking out hundreds of data solutions for our partners, the further along things are going to go. And if we stay focused on that vision, it's really in terms of this long-term focus that we put our most attention towards because it's what we can control. If somebody decides to send out a tweet or some people on Capitol Hill decide to have a meeting, these things are going to affect markets a lot. I take the time to go through this description because it is something where it's part of why we want to get a better connection with the community by doing situations like these lives. We're testing it out daily right now just to get an idea for how does it feel, what type of a structure seems to work, as well as what's people's feedback. So anyways, I'm going to go on to the next topics, but thank you so much for bringing this up. Yep, we'll be actually launching a new website as of right now. So we've got the design approved and now it's in the development phase. I would estimate that the development side will take maybe a week. As of right now, our developer has a deadline of Thursday or Friday. At the same time, though, things do happen. If there's some major challenge that comes up during the build, perhaps that takes a few days. It seems like everybody is getting sick, including yours truly. It's something where we've had probably days off because of a fever. And even to myself, these are a couple days off. And instead of working 13 to 15 hours a day, I'm only working 8 to 10 hours a day. But I say that because the new website, we will actually have an updated roadmap. On top of that, we're looking at having an updated roadmap, likely an entire series talking about the many different initiatives we have planned for PGU, though quite frankly, most of that is going to likely be launched as we're getting closer to winning a Parachain. So as it looks as of now, I'm thinking Zeitgeist, however you pronounce the current project, they're probably going to win next week's Parachain, yet it looks like we have an open runway for the following week. So what we're doing is preparing our marketing material to make sure we have as much material as possible available to help people start building, to get close to uploading data to the marketplace. And most importantly, we've got to build the UI so people can actually interact with it, because right now, of course, it's all back-end setup. Let's see. Oh yes, yes. It's been a good last month, Stu. I think it was maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, we hit 60K. We had a slight lull, and now that we've begun picking up Twitter messaging, we're seeing it really blow up. I'm excited to find out what it takes to get to the 100K number, because we've got a lot more planned in terms of how to better leverage our Twitter. We'll be connecting closer with our partners now that we're moving closer to parachains. We're working on some exciting initiatives to go even deeper into blockchain native social channels, so that way we can better participate with the ecosystem at large. On top of that, we've got multiple opportunities in terms of additional events. In case anybody had missed it, Kylin, our founder, had an interview with both Gavin Wood and Edward Snowden, where he was hosting them during what turned into a riveting debate. So it's something where we found quite a niche with this event style marketing, and we actually have 2 additional events planned over the next 6 months. So these are excellent opportunities to be able to interact with the types of folks that could use our data services, namely other applications, projects, and as we proceed towards launching the marketplace, any developer who'd like to be able to monetize their applications in creative ways. Yeah, thank you so much, Rai. It's something where that's what I'm going for. I've analyzed a lot of different crypto projects, and it's something where I've seen a couple of consistencies that do also impact us. Blockchain is a bit of a messy environment. Things change, things move fast. I mean, on any given day, we are constantly checking Telegram because there's just a nonstop flood of information coming in that we're adapting to. And when it comes down to how to be able to scale a community through that, when I think of how do we go from, sub $50 million microcap ish microcap coin up to $10 billion+ blue chip project, the only way I see we can possibly get there is by working together as a community. Because the fact is, while yes, there is a dedicated team that's working relentlessly. I mean, we're all a bunch of degens when it comes to our obsession with making Kylin the absolute best that it can be. At the same time, though, if we're going to have 1,000 projects one day, just like Chainlink, that is thousands of data solutions that need to be built. I mean, even one decentralized oracle is probably going to include 30 people's oracles attached, and then everything just gets aggregated, run through an algorithm, and then spits out the most accurate numbers. So it's something where there's a lot of things we need to figure out as a community to find out what type of balances should we have in terms of the rewards and the incentives. You know, how detailed should the various milestones be for the many bounties that we come out with for our partners? You know, how much should we be focusing on initiative A versus initiative B? And it's something that as we begin to expand and continue to accelerate past the Parachain launch, it's really going to take likely thousands of us working together and being able to learn and grow with each other. People from various backgrounds and different business domain expertise, whether there's some folks who come from a technological background, or maybe people like me who are a bit of an outsider and comes from a background a little bit different. For myself, it's marketing. Maybe for others, it's legal. Other might be accounting. Other, it might be something completely different. The fact is, we have the opportunity to come together as a community and to figure out the best ways to make things reach its fullest potential. Because we're the only project that is set up in a position to be able to truly become that blockchain data layer, being built directly into Polkadot out of native substrate Rust allows us the opportunity to be able to connect with the entire interoperable blockchain network. And as of right now, while people are pretty excited and distracted by NFTs and the metaverse, and it is really cool what's happening, it seems people have forgotten that powering all of this, that not a single smart contract could operate if it wasn't for the data being supplied to them. Chainlink figured this out, and they did pretty well over the last couple of years. And quite frankly, they're also woefully undervalued at the moment in comparison to where the market's really going. I share this because something where the idea behind this more consistent, more intimate type of marketing where we can connect and hang out, and sometimes people show up, sometimes people don't, but by making it to where we've got a pulse out there, we see it that we can begin to nurture meaningful relationships. We can offer as much value as possible. And ideally, our selfish intention is that, much similar to the way that I became attracted to the project. I saw Kylin hosting a live. He sounded like a pretty stand-up guy, and I reached out to the ambassadors to learn more about how the company works. What does it look like to work with the blockchain network? What type of opportunities are there? And I offered an opportunity that I could help. I submitted a proposal describing exactly what I felt I could provide to the community and the benefit that I thought it would offer. And I made sure that I gave value first. For months actually, to be able to make sure it was a good decision. So alternatively, I say that because, yeah, it's something where we want to keep this up, and any additional ideas or strategies, we're more than open to them as we're exploring and kind of finding out our voice along this journey. Yeah, good call, M10. So we'll be putting together something called Kylin clips, where what we actually have the team doing right now is they're taking these different AMAs, and as I give answers, they'll clip them out, chop them up, and then add some visualizations and such to make it a little bit more engaging and a little bit easier to interact with. We're still figuring out what this is going to look like, so I would expect as early as next week is when we'll probably have the first round of Kylin clips coming out, and then we'll be iterating rapidly on these. The idea is to get it to where our videos are short enough that they could comfortably be deployed on TikTok. Not that TikTok is necessarily going to be the largest range for user adoption. The main idea is that we'd like to get to a point where I can learn how to answer things short, sweet, and simple enough that we can share it in any environment. Still got quite a bit of work to do to get there. Yeah, so it's a good question about can we build NFTs on Kylin? So Kylin in itself is not set up to be a smart contract platform to be able to facilitate different types of products such as an NFT. Instead, what we do is we create the systems that analyze other blockchain assets such as NFTs. So an example we've been playing with several partners we're in talks with is they'll often have these various NFT sets. Maybe it's a PFP drop. That's when they have like 10,000 profile photos. Maybe it's going to be a metaverse project where they have weapons or characters or armor or whatever types of NFT assets that there might be. And the challenge that occurs is things become pretty complicated when you want to track these markets. Sure, you can take a look at what is the floor price, and that can show what the lowest listed price is, and you can see what the average sale prices are over a period of time. But to be able to go so far as to determine, well, which properties seem to have the highest impact on price, both positively and negatively. Perhaps what different groupings of items are selling the most, and is there a trend? Is there any type of a season that can happen between these things? By being able to tap into these types of statistics, NFT investors, as well as the creators and project founders of NFT and metaverse projects, can gather much deeper insights, finding out which properties do people like the most, so they know what types of elements to add into their next drops, or within a metaverse to be able to see where people are spending the most time and effort, so that way then they could likely make decisions to help improve that overall user experience. So it's something where Kylin, we do quite a bit of work within the NFT and metaverse space. I combine them because we offer a similar value. At the same time though, it's really up to the creativity of a person on what type of solution they provide or create. The magic of the data marketplace is we want to have this set up to where we can connect the people who have an idea of a type of value that can be generated by utilizing certain types of data on chain. It could be off chain as well, but we're talking about NFTs, so that's going to be, of course, on chain. And then connect with folks that would be interested in building that. And through a smart contract system, we would be able to make it to where those milestones would be set up as a way to release the rewards available. And then by tokenizing it through a DDMO, which is essentially an NFT that allows us to fractionalize the value of an asset on Kylin, makes it to where then a percentage can go to the supporters, the financial supporters of the project, as well as to the builders. Now, of course, we're a bit of a ways away from that. We'll need to launch a Parachain first, but I'm really happy to hear that you guys are thinking about what kind of solutions we can do. Well, hey, everybody. This has been an awesome time. It's been great hanging out with you. And I'm glad to see our numbers going up. We're at 17 people right now with very little marketing about this. So thank you all so much for being here. I'll give a couple of moments, please. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, now's the time to share them and we'll knock them out. If not, then what we can do is we'll be having another AMA sometime tomorrow. I can't say what time. My schedule is pretty sporadic. I'm personally shooting to do something closer towards the morning. I'll likely be spending the early morning. We've got Parachain part 2, 3, and 4 that I'm wanting to get launched for next week. And then on top of that, we'll be dropping 2 of our partner videos that have been long overdue. So excited to share that. Let me just check my Telegram real quick before logging out. All right, perfect. So yeah, we got a couple of questions from our ambassador team. I want to make sure to knock these out before heading out. So question number 1, how do the Candlestick auctions actually work? So Candlestick auctions, I think, are so cool. Essentially a normal auction, of course, it's everyone raises their hand and says what price it is that they're willing to pay, and everyone tries to outbid each other. The challenge is that this can lead to bidding wars, because then somebody can just wait until it seems like there's no more bids at the last minute, just like the annoying people on eBay whenever you would bid $5 for an item, and then boom, someone sweeps in 10 seconds before the listing ends and offers $5.05. It's not the most fair system, is the point. So the team at Parity had found, I guess, this process that was used like in the 1700s or something, where they would actually light a candle in an auction environment. And what they would do is they would continue to have the auction, and when the candle went out for any reason, I mean, if the wind blew and knocked the candle out, boom, no more auction. Whoever has the highest bid wins. So a candlestick auction, in terms of Polkadot and Kusama, is the same concept, but on blockchain. So the initial first 2 days of the auction time period, the timer hasn't been set yet. And that's the time period for people to begin to commit their KSM towards a project. Then the final 5 days of the week, at any random point within those 5 days, it could be the first couple seconds, or it could be at the very last minute, or anywhere in between. It's a completely random circumstance that makes it to where projects are incentivized to have as many people load in the beginning part to set a more accurate price discovery. Now, as of right now, there's significantly less projects that are going for Parachain auctions than there are auction slots available, meaning there's a lot more supply than there is demand. So it's something, excuse me, it's something where these Parachain auctions are pretty tame and pretty calm right now. It's still very, very early in terms of adoption. At the same time, it can be expected that in the future, these auctions can become quite intense as people are going for varying time slots that will be quite limited at a later point. If we compare something like Ethereum, where there are just thousands upon thousands of various projects, the growth curve of Polkadot will likely be quite similar. One, it was built by the same guy that created Ethereum, and then two, it's been developed intentionally in a way to be able to onboard projects not just from one ecosystem, but from any blockchain ecosystem. So what this means is that we are likely looking at a future where there could be hundreds and later thousands of projects looking for a slot. It's part of why being prepared for the future is so important when it comes to our slots and options there. One moment. Excuse me, I did pretty well. I need to stop doing these at the end of the day when my voice is gone. All right, next question. Do we have partners or investors that will put up KSM to help us secure our Parachain? So yes, we do have a multitude of investors that have verbally committed to putting into KSM. Now, we don't have official numbers or any like signed documentation or anything with people. So it's something where we're very confident in being able to win. Like I said, it looks like these current folks, Zeitgeist, will likely win next week. And it looks like we'll be pretty clear to be able to win the following week. At the same time, though, it's something where I couldn't say exactly what that will be. All right, next. When will we receive a new roadmap? Great question. So this is actually something that we're working on to decide what are the primary initiatives that we're going to be rolling with, and then what timeline do we think is reasonable for it. Now, when it comes down to the official new roadmap, it's tough for me to say because much of the things that I feel would be probably the most valuable on the roadmap, we won't really have an idea on until after we launch the Parachain, when we get an idea of what type of a community support do we have. At the moment, there's 130 plus people inside of our Substrate Builders group or inside of our Substrate Developers group. So as we see those numbers increase, we'll know that there's a greater pool of people available for which can work on the different bounties that are set up through the dev fund. On the other hand, if it's something where it looks like, maybe there's a bit more work that needs to be done, maybe there's some other type of back-end materials we need to do, it's something where we need to be able to test a few things out to get a good idea. It can make the difference between, is something going to take 2 months to put together, or might it take 6 months? So what I'm leaning towards doing is initially starting out with something, something of a proposed roadmap, not with timelines at first, more so with the types of initiatives that we'd like to be able to deploy and to determine which initiatives seem to make the most sense. Once we've gained consensus on those different steps, that's where I would imagine by the end of the year, we'd have something with more specific timelines. Now, I would expect in terms of like when the guys will be seeing this is that upon the time of the new website. So I'd give that as at the earliest, we'd have that fully developed by the end of next week. Though to be conservative, maybe it's going to be early the week after that. We'll have a first round of our proposed ideas from there, and then we'll be working together as a team, as an ambassador community, and as a community at large to put together the rest of those details. Man, and I gotta say, I'm going here through the chats, and I've gotta say, I haven't talked to you enough yet, Alman, and I'm not sure if you're here live with us, but brother, you have been absolutely crushing it in our community. I gotta say, I can't thank you enough for everything that you do. And pretty soon, once I'm back in Europe, I think we'll be neighbors to each other. I'll have to give you a high five or crack a cold one with you sometime, because the work that you're doing, the insights you've provided, the way that you're out here taking care of the community, it's exactly the type of participation that brought these amazing folks like Bull Sander and Crypto Lady and Stu and Sam and myself and everybody who's a part of this program now. I just can't list off everyone. I just want to say welcome to the family. And while I'm at it, I also wanted to say, Juan, we haven't had a chance to speak. I've been super duper, I guess a little bit overloaded. I definitely would like to jam with you sometime. I think that either next week or the week after might be an appropriate time to do a community spotlight. And I can't think of anybody better than to perhaps do a podcast or an AMA with you. Let's talk about your data education system. I think it's brilliant. And being able to guide people, I would love to hear from your perspective as somebody who has been learning Substrate Rust and has gone through the entire process of data beginnings all the way down to machine learning and artificial intelligence. Anyway, sorry, no, not one of the questions, but I'm just looking at an amazing team and had to bring this up. All right, I'm gonna take one last look at the chat and then we'll call this a day. Jay David, am I here for the long term? Absolutely yes. Now, I personally believe that data in general is a long-term play. Right now, the big sexy is NFT and metaverse. Before, it was DeFi. And I believe that data will have its day, though it'll likely be, I can't say how long, but I'm thinking it's going to be closer towards that next mass adoption pump. Whenever people begin to realize how having an application is one thing, being able to have an effective application, which is using data-backed decision processes, is going to be a different thing. And whenever we start to see that competitive landscape between the projects that have machine learning backed systems versus projects that don't, I believe there's going to be that's really the shift that excites me. I share that because when I look at this personally, I think that we've got a pretty solid year of building, and there's a heck of a lot for us to put together as a community. From there, I imagine there'll likely be 2 to 3 years of adoption. I would expect something similar if you're looking at Chainlink. We have a pretty parallel path with them. From there, that's when things get real interesting, that next 3 to 5 years, because I believe that we're going to have a very different growth curve now as, well, the entire world is looking for a safe haven to be able to participate in. So during this time period, it's clear we're going to need to have very strong systems, and we'll likely have gotten to the point of stabilizing our various solutions to really niching down and creating likely sub-communities that are specializing in different aspects of industry. From there, I personally, about as far as I can see is a 10-year plan. And I see it that I'm here at Kylin ideally through the entire 10 years. Now it's something where I myself am, I'm not so different than anybody else. It's something where this is a community-led project. And while right now, sure, it is an executive team that is making the governance decisions, this entire thing is built out so that as we develop systems that prove stronger stability, we'll be shaving off the amount of control that we have until the system is fully decentralized, at which point my intention is to continue building and leading and developing as many useful applications as possible, because I truly believe that we're building the data superhighway of blockchain. To me, it's essentially like being on the ground floor of Google in the early days, except the difference is that while there may not be, it may not be necessarily the most exciting in terms of salary and working hours, but when it comes down to the value that can be produced, building an oracle that can end up supplying data for hundreds of applications that could be used for decades, that's just an extraordinarily exciting idea. So I say that because I like to think in terms of longer time periods. 5 year chunks, really. I'm in year number one of what I call 5 years of focus. And this entire 5 year trajectory is just to get to a point to prepare for the next 5 years, where ideally we've probably reached something of a data singularity by that point. 5G, self-driving cars, pretty much standardized AR, VR. It's going to be an interesting world 10 years from now, and all of that will require our data solutions. Yeah, you better believe we're going for the dot parachain. So dot is going to be really where the most action comes from. Pichu, as the canary network, is meant for testing. It's meant for experimentation, and it's an extraordinarily important part of the network, because there's certain things that we can run algorithms and we can create formulas to kind of get an idea of how something might operate. But until it's in the wild, until it's live, until real people using real money are building real solutions, it's real tough to tell what's going to happen. So on Kusama, by being able to test out these various game theory applications and to see and optimize what works well and what doesn't, it then allows us to take those learnings and apply it directly onto our Polkadot parachain once we do launch Kylin mainnet officially. It's also why it's important that we have the Pichu network, ideally for a couple of slots, because we've got years worth of development of exciting new initiatives to be diving into, and it'll be extraordinarily useful to have that testing environment. Yeah, so this is a good question. Does it matter that the market seems to crash hard again when you are at the parachain? I would answer no, if anything, and it sounds pretty savage, but it's actually a bit of a benefit because there's a lot less competition. Whenever projects are not thinking long term, they're dependent upon market conditions to be able to grow and to develop. The founder, Dylan, and the venture capital team behind him, they worked hard to make sure that we had a nice, long, secure runway available. So that way we had time to make sure to build the underlying foundation of this network. So that way then as a community, we can continue to build out the applications for our partners. So in this case here, it's something where there's likely to be a lot less projects that are going to be competing, which means we're able to get a slot for less tokens, thus giving us more tokens to use, both for future auctions as well as for ecosystem development, depending on how governance decides to move things. Now, when it comes down to, excuse me, this market crash, like, I guess I just want to say that while yes, the market is going down now, it's something that volatility in crypto is probably the only thing we can all expect in this industry. And so while yes, it happens to be going down now, for all we know, it could go right back into rampage mode a month from now, or just keep on dumping. So when it comes to the way that we make decisions, we really do look at it as, how does this impact the fundamentals? How does it get us closer to launching the marketplace, developing more solutions, and taking on more partners? Because those are the things that ultimately will increase our value per query and the total volume of queries that are happening on our network. Quick question. You have some sample use cases? Yeah, sure thing. So I'd say, excuse me, I say your name, Shantiadon. I would say that the most popular use case that people look for is price feeding oracles. So when you're thinking about a DeFi application, they're typically going to be making some kind of a return decision based upon the price of an asset. Now, there are so many different tokens and there's prices from all over different exchanges, directly from on-chain, and from different websites that aggregate this data. So to find the exact price, down to the Satoshi, can be a little bit difficult. So it's something where, in order to solve this problem, there needs to be hundreds and probably eventually thousands of oracles to be able to pull these right prices. That's just one available use case. Now, a second use case that I'm personally the most bullish and most excited about is our Gen 2 oracles, or machine learning oracles. So machine learning is something that is extraordinarily difficult to do, damn near impossible to do on blockchain because of the amount of data and processing power that it requires. It would just be needlessly expensive. On the other hand, what we're putting together is a system that allows for any developer to be able to connect their application to a series of systems that we're looking to build, that makes it to where they can convert different types of data into machine learning insights. So in this way, an application such as maybe let's go back to the example of DeFi, maybe a DeFi application, as opposed to just knowing what is the price of this currency token. Let's just say, I'll pick a random project, Moonriver. Like, let's just say, what is the price of Moonriver? That might be a Gen 1 oracle. A Gen 2 oracle might be analyzing the volatility of Moonriver over the previous 14 days and is spitting out some type of a score that is being used to be able to create different risk profiles for whatever the DeFi application might be doing. It's a nerdy example, but the idea there and what's really exciting about that is, from a technological standpoint, that's very difficult to do. And we found a way to be able to pull this off, and not only to be able to create machine learning application solutions on blockchain or using blockchain, but being able to create a system that we can teach that to other people and share this opportunity with our entire community. Ideally creating something of an open source or crowdsourced data factory, cranking out machine learning solutions, each of which creates a long-term income stream in the form of utility tokens, a Pichu or Kylin, depending which network it's built upon. Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for your awesome questions today, and thank you for sticking around. If you found this interesting, please give our channel a share. We are definitely looking forward to continue to expand our reach and to connect with more people. And again, for anybody who's considered getting into blockchain, maybe you are a developer that wants to be able to work on more blockchain projects, or perhaps you're interested in data and have been looking for how to crack into the industry. We are currently hiring multiple positions for Substrate developers, and would be happy to speak with you. If you're interested in working with Kylin, or if you have any ideas or proposals to submit for the Dev Fund, please feel free to reach out to us on Telegram. We'll have ambassadors there available most hours of the day and night. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and until next time.